Hello. I'm just laughing at my hair. I desperately need a haircut, but I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, I was just going to talk today because I like to tell you when I get little bits of feedback, and it springs up and gives me ideas of which I can talk to you about. And one of the ways hypnotherapy is so really powerful, and why we actually have to be really careful when you're in hypnosis, is that when you're in hypnosis, that subconscious mind is wide open, and we know that your subconscious mind just accepts things verbatim. It just takes it in, absorbs it and puts it into practice. So it's why we're very careful not to put negative things in when you're in hypnosis. But why it's so powerful is that the right words at the right time directly into your subconscious mind makes an amazing difference to your life. And one of the powerful things for me as a practitioner when you do RTT with people is the times when you know you've found exactly the right word at exactly the right time. And often that will come with an emotional reaction. There'll be a welling up of tears, or there'll be something very noticeable that tells you, that you've got the right thing, basically. And sometimes you have to hammer that point home, because there are often things, I was watching a session of Marissa Peer's the other day, there are often things that people find very hard to hear and express about themselves, even in hypnosis, because those things are not familiar. If you were brought up with quite abusive parents, the idea of what we can do in RTT is put you in the role of being the loving parent to yourself, because as an adult, in effect, that's what you are. You're not a child anymore. You're not waiting on somebody else to tell you what you need to hear. When you're an adult, you can say that to yourself. That's your role. It's your duty. So, but we forget to do that, or we only say negative, critical things to ourselves. So in RTT, we can put you in this role of being the loving parent to yourself, and having you say the things that you really wanted and needed to hear as a child. And obviously, because it's positive and it's going directly into your subconscious mind, it hits home and it stays there and it builds. So for some people, it will be along the lines of, I'm proud of you, you're a great kid, I love being your parent, you are good enough, you are worthy, I love who you are, I only want you to be yourself, you don't need to be anybody else, you're good enough exactly as you are with what you want to do, and all of the rest of it. So for me as a practitioner, when you're leading a session, it's as you're going along, it's working out, what does this client in front of me need to hear? Because we all need to hear certain different things. And for a recent client of mine, it was very much, I'm beautiful, that she really needed to hear and that she really needed to absorb. And at that moment of first trying to say it, there's a real difficulty, because if you've never felt beautiful in your life, to start this process of making it familiar, to tell yourself that you are beautiful. And when I talk about beauty, it's in recognizing that all of us are beautiful, no matter what you look like. It's not about your body. You are not a body, you're not a face, you are the spirit inside, you're the conscious awareness inside. And that's what we have to connect you, because the conscious awareness inside you knows that you're beautiful, knows that you're good enough, knows that you're exactly how you're supposed to be, knows that you're sinless, blameless, guilt-free. You don't need to be in this constant attack and defend mode. Inside, you're perfectly all right. So that's all we need to kind of connect you back into. So for this particular client, that first time of saying I'm beautiful was really, really hard. So you go again and you say, I am beautiful, and you keep at it until you can see that there's this acceptance. And at that moment, everything goes, because you've let that burden go of worrying about that you're not this thing that's your concern. And for another client recently, their moment was just being able to say to themselves that they were a good mum. For a lot of mums, there's a lot of this burden if your children have difficulties, or if they don't turn out the way that society says they're supposed to turn out, or whatever it is, you know, as mums take on a lot of guilt, no matter how hard they try sometimes, you know, as a mum, that you can't win. So for a recent client of mine, it was very, you know, when we got to this point of, you know, praising yourself and giving yourself all the praise you could have ever wanted and needed to hear. For her, it was very much about being able to say to herself that you're a good mum. You did your best. You did everything you could. It's not your fault. You know, and it's really important. And it's to see somebody kind of collapse under the weight of releasing that idea of telling themselves it's okay, they did good, they're not guilty, they're not faulty, and all of that. It's that thing, why it's such a powerful technique in hypnosis is that when other people give you praise and compliments, you tend to pass it off, you tend to deflect it. And I'm so guilty of doing it myself. And when I find myself doing it, I'm so frustrated with myself because I just know you're not supposed to be doing that. We're all guilty of this thing of when we get compliments or praised or told we've done a good job, we're always trying to pass it off because we're trying to say, oh, there's some kind of ulterior motive in that. They don't mean it. They're only doing it because of X, Y, and Z. So we don't allow it to sink in. But if we allowed it to sink in, it feeds that little inner child inside that, you know, tends to feel like they're not good enough. But the thing is, when you do praise yourself, and especially when you do it in hypnosis, which is why we give you a recording that's chock full of a lot of positive stuff, is that you accept it because you hear your own voice saying it and your mind believes you. All of our minds believe us. So when we tell it really good things, then it absolutely believes it. So it's a really critical point in hypnosis for many people to find that thing that's always been lacking, that never got said when they were a child. You know, as children, for many children, the adults have it in mind what this child is going to be in life. You know, my mum always told me I was going to be something. I was going to be this, I was going to be that, I was going to go to university, I was the smartest one, whatever. And it didn't work out, believe me, because when you put all that weight on a child, it's a lot of pressure, especially if they don't feel that that's their path. I mean, I think that was one of my things, really, that I was kind of bigged up to be on this academic path. And I don't think that was ever really meant for me. So kind of I hit like my latter school years, and I must have, at some subconscious level, felt like this isn't my path and I can't sustain it. So I have to throw up some kind of roadblock or warning, red flag, that's going to make sure people know that this isn't for me. But a lot of children get a lot of pressure from their parents. I mean, this session I was watching the other day of Marissa's, the person concerned, her parents were very academic or very clever, or at least the father was. So she was constantly being judged against his academic level as a child. So as a child, you cannot match your father's intellectual level, especially if they're an academic. And the mother was very much about cleaning the house and, you know, everything having to be perfect and clean and tidy and all of the rest of it. So this poor lady was getting it from both sides. She both wasn't smart enough, clever enough, academic enough, and on the other side, as a child, trying to match up to this thing of tidy enough, clean enough, never having your toys out, never breaking anything, never doing anything wrong. That's you, and a lot of, hi Nadia, I can see she's down there. You know, for a lot of kids, they are, you know, and not necessarily, I think it's maybe a little bit easier for kids in this day and age, but they have I would say they have separate problems these days. It's a very different kind of problem. For people of my age and similar, a lot of it was about what you were expected to be like, and a lot of weight was put on you to have adult responsibilities, I would say. I think kids these days, the challenges are a bit different. In some ways, it's harder in a different way because parents tend to be a lot in tune with the kids and stuff, but sometimes doing too much. There's a lot of parents these days that are not allowing the kids to have that individuality and supporting them. Not necessarily suppressing what they want to do, but just being overcautious in a way with the kids, overprotective, which stops kids from building their independence, because we all need to build some resilience in some way. So there's a fine, it's kind of like what I go back to saying about being a mother, there's a fine line, and I guess, and I'm sure Nadia will agree, being a mother, that there's a fine line to walk between overprotecting your kids and coming down on them like a ton of bricks. It's not an easy job parenting. So a lot of adults do walk around with this thing of feeling like they've ruined their children, or children walking around and growing up into adulthood and lambasting themselves because they realise that they're just like their parents and it's exactly what they didn't want to be and all of the rest of it. So we're all walking around with this guilt, this burden, this attacking ourselves and all of the rest of it. And there's a lot of stuff that we just literally just need to let go of and recognise that we're not faulty, we're not to blame, there's not anything we've to pay back. That we need to get in this mode of praising ourselves, of living in the moment and tackling each moment on a moment by moment basis, not dragging the past into it, not trying to predict the future, just literally living in the now and recognising what we truly are and praising ourselves for all the good that we recognise in ourselves. And if we are aware of anything that was missing as children, that it is our role, we have this ability, this option now as adults to give it to ourselves. And it is a case of making it familiar. It's one of the reasons we give you a recording that is for 3 weeks that you do every day, because it will be difficult when you first start saying positive things to yourself because you've had a lifetime of saying negative things to yourself. So it's really important that you make it familiar. It's going to be hard to say it the first 5-10 times, whatever it is. That's why Marissa Peer will tell you to write on your mirror in lipstick, I am enough, because the idea is you need to see it a lot. Your mind needs to see it a lot. And why we like it in hypnosis is because your mind tends to get it a lot quicker. It tends to take it on board a lot faster and it tends not to question it. That's why hypnotherapy can be exceptional for you in getting you a speedy turnaround. And we're talking like in 3 weeks. I mean, there's people I've helped that have had radical shifts in their life. They've either started a new career, taken up a new course, they've decided to move house. It gets you unstuck. If you're feeling really, really stuck right now, then you're probably telling yourself a heck of a lot of stuff that you don't need to hear, or certainly don't need to have repeated to yourself. You need to be telling yourself the different stuff. So if you're feeling really, really stuck in life, I think hypnotherapy is incredibly helpful for you, because there'll be a reason why you're feeling stuck and we can give you the solution to that. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for watching, Nadia. It's nice to know somebody's there. And you can always book a free call with me at any time at charmedlifetherapy.co.uk/call, or drop me a comment. I'll always reply to you. And you can email me as well at anna@charmedlifetherapy.co.uk. That slow connection bar's come up, so I can't close it off just yet. All right, I will see you later. Bye-bye.